All right, all right, all right. Week 3 is here. The Chicago Bears are coming off what many believe an embarrassing and tough loss to the Green Bay Packers. You definitely saw our reaction this past Sunday night I was a couple Millers deep. Tony was just very sad and disappointed. His texts the next day were very aggressive towards me in regards to certain comments I was making on social media because he was still very upset with the Bears. But we are here to bring back the positivity because the Bears are going to go 2-1 after Sunday after beating the Houston Texans who come into town. Tony, welcome back as always. Great to see you. And before we begin, Tony, how excited are you to see that Bermuda grass fresh sod, good to go, no puddle game at Soldier Field this upcoming Sunday?
I'm excited. It's almost like we have a new stadium, even though all the actual problems are still there, and the Bermuda grass being just this beacon of hope for us is like it'd be like being in the desert and you just see a muddy puddle of water and you're like, wow, that's the freshest water I've ever seen. That's what the Bermuda grass is for us. And you know what? I'm okay with it. I'll drink that muddy water. Whatever, man. I haven't had water in years. I haven't had nice grass in years. I'll take it.
Well, Tony's drinking, instead of the juice, he's drinking the mud water. So good for him. That's natural to the earth. But Justin Fields is on a mission this week to show that his first 2 weeks of the season were not legit. That is a fluke for him, and he is going to bounce back and show the quarterback that he is going to be and the potential that he has. We're going to go through strengths and weaknesses overview for the Bears against the Houston Texans. Lovie Smith coming back to Chicago and what that means, the injury report entering the weekend, 3 keys to the game, and our final score predictions. So to kick things off, Justin Fields is on a mission to make sure that fans know what kind of quarterback he really is. Fields told reporters that he is has been getting to Hallis Hall an hour before anyone else. He is there by himself. Obviously, he calls up a couple coaches and says, hey, I'm here. Let's get in work. There is no excuse for him to have a bad day, though. I'm just putting that out there against the Houston Texans. There is no excuse. Tony, tell me, if you think there's an excuse, by all means. But Houston has a super weak defense. We're going to get into that in a little bit. But Getsy needs to be willing to go crazy on these guys, and it's going to drive me nuts if we see a game like Green Bay again.
Yeah, so just before we actually started recording, I unloaded my bankroll responsibly on the Bears money line. So no surprise where I stand on my quarterback, our quarterback, Justin Fields, and the Chicago Bears. And also just wanted to, because this is just Fields related, I haven't gotten to talk about it on the podcast. I don't know. I didn't see if you guys did yesterday. So anyone upset about Justin Fields' comments about caring more than the fans has got to just got to shut up. The man is getting battered and bruised out there while we sit on our butts on the couch and yell at adult men to go win a game for us. Not to undermine any fandom, dude. I was yelling. Trust me, I almost cried after that game. That's how much I do care. But these guys are actually out there, and I love the fact that he cares. The fact that he's like, no, I care more. That's what I want a quarterback to say. That's what I want our quarterback to say. So,
and he cleared it up, and he did clear it up.
It was frustration, and that's understandable. Good. He should.
I love that he even said himself, I didn't want to come talk to you guys. We just lost. I didn't want to come out here and talk to you guys.
It was kind of a BS question from that reporter too. If we're gonna be totally honest.
The people that got upset. Here's the other thing: is that some big accounts, I think, influence decisions. I'm not saying we're a big account by any means. We love everybody. We I feel like we know everybody in some sort of way. So that's what we really appreciate about you guys. But some accounts instantly were like, don't get mad at him, and some accounts were like, get mad at him. Have your own opinion. My own opinion, the second I heard that, I was like, I don't blame him. I think that he kind of like what you're saying. He's putting his body on the line. He's getting hit. Also, he had to deal with Matt Nagy for a year in that offense. So, his career is a year behind. If he would have had an Andy Reid kind of guy or, Sean McVay, who knows what Justin Fields would be like right now. But I could see his frustration. But, I think he also, as a fan and just looking in, he has no excuse for a bad game this week. The only way I could see him having a bad game is if Luke Getsy doesn't give him calls. But Luke Getsy is going to come out there, especially after last week, and he's going to throw some special play. The flea flicker at the beginning of the Green Bay game, why did we stop at that one play? So I think that Justin Fields is going to come out. I think he's going to have a bounce back game. There's no excuses for it. This Houston defense is bad, and we're going to get into that in just a second. We do have the week 3 matchup. It's Bears versus Texans at Soldier Field, noon. I will be at the game. Tony, unfortunately, will not be at the game. So if you're at the game, please tweet me. Would love to find you, get you a beer, take some pictures. I'll be tailgating in the morning. So text me, find me. I'll tell you where I'm at. Meet me there. But this week is against the Texans, who are 0-1-1. They arguably have the worst defense in the NFL, yet they have 2 of the top 5 leading tacklers in the NFL, which I think is very just weird stats across Houston. Also, the wild tie to start week 1. Tony, how would you describe? You've been texting me the word, but how would you describe the Houston Texans before we go into strengths and weaknesses?
Frisky.
Big Cat said it too. They're frisky. They're just a weirdly put together team that you never know what they're going to do. So I think that frisky is the right word. But you can't shut the door on the Texans, but the Bears in our position are a team that can beat bad teams, but can't play with good teams right now, according to how they're being coached and how their players are playing. They're better than last year, no doubt about it. So we're going to get into the strengths and weaknesses right now of this roster. So we're going to start with the Bears' strengths. And, Tony, let's go through the strengths. We'll make some comments for everybody. And we want to hear your guys' comments. So please say what you guys think the Bears' strengths and weaknesses are. Tony and I only just want to get high level with you guys. It's that the strengths of the offense, and I'm just going to kick it off, is our offensive line. That's something that Bears fans don't say often, but through 2 weeks, only 5 sacks allowed. Bears used to let that up in a quarter. So, the offensive line is doing a much better job against 2 pretty tough defenses. Definitely San Francisco is a tough defense. Green Bay, I don't like to give a lot of credit to, so I think they're an okay defense, which they are. But they're the strength of the offense right now. They're giving Justin Fields time. They're giving David Montgomery and Khalil Herbert, holes. It's just that Justin Fields needs to produce. And there were plays where Fields missed opportunities, but it's not that he did bad either, because the play calling just was horrendous. But the offensive line did their job. Tony, I know you were about to go, oh, wait, I'm about to jump all over you about your comment, but no, you're like, okay, wait, no, he said it's fine. So,
but I do agree. Yeah, everybody underperformed for the most part, except for like David Montgomery. I
absolutely
fair criticism is fine. It's the people saying like, all right, so who are we drafting next year at quarterback? It's like, all right, hold on, everyone.
Is there even anyone in the draft for us to? That's not what we're talking about. But you're going to stick with Justin Fields no matter what, because the potential is there. Yeah. But also, the strengths of the offense is the running game. It's worked out very well, and against a Houston defense that allows a boatload of rushing yards. I mean, Houston lets up the most yards in the NFL overall as a defense. So the Bears running game is, in theory, going to have a very big day against this offensive side of the ball. Tony, any comments, anything else that you think is going to do well for the Chicago Bears from a strength perspective on the offensive side of the ball?
I actually, what I do want to do is agree with you about the offensive line. And I know for a second, as soon as that I saw that when we were kind of planning before the show, I was like, offensive line. I was like, really? I was like, well, what these are relative strengths. We're not saying they're, the Colts of years past with Quentin Nelson, anchoring that line, whatever. But you're so right about the holes that they're opening up for Montgomery and for Khalil Herbert, which I know we'll hit on a little more as we go forward. They have somehow been one of our strongest position groups, besides, I guess, running backs. But I mean, that all kind of feeds together. So overall strengths, I mean, I just think we're a very athletic team is what we are. And that applies to the offense. Are we the most skilled and talented? That remains to be seen. But we are I think we're the more athletic and maybe talented.
Well, I mean, speaking of athleticism, the Bears' strength is on the defensive side of the ball has to be our secondary. I mean, 3 out of the 4 guys have done an absolute fantastic job. I'm not, talking poorly about Kyler Gordon, because he has gotten burned. There's no doubt about that. He's a rookie, though, and someone's got to get picked on, but he's done fantastic against the running game. So the Bears secondary as a whole is doing a great job, and that's definitely the strength of the defense. That's what's helping keep this defense in games. The linebackers, they're doing okay. I mean, there's definitely been, and Tony, please argue with me if you disagree. I think that there's been a lot of times where Roquan Smith could have made a play to stop a run or, stop a third down, and he's unfortunately missed it. And he's betting on himself. Remember that. Ryan Poles made an offer for him to get extended, and Roquan Smith didn't take it. So depending on how he plays this year, can really mess with that value. And I think that he has played average to his standards so far. So I don't want to say the linebackers are a total strength. I would say Travis Gibson and Robert Quinn are strengths, but the rest of the defensive line, they're just lighting up too many yards. And, we're going to get into weaknesses in a second. But Tony, anything defensively, strength-wise that you want to hit on for everybody, or do you agree with me?
I agree with you about Roquan. I did see a couple videos where he was taking some interesting angles to balls. Not saying he wasn't trying, but it was just it was just a bad read, or we've seen him do better. We expect more of him, but that's not what we're talking about right now. We're talking about the strengths. I totally agree with you on the secondary. I think Kyler Gordon, obviously his second game of his NFL career, is in the most important game probably going into this Packers game, the most important game in our season. It felt like, this might be it. We might beat the Packers. We're going, Aaron Rodgers finally on his way out. They just got smoked by the Vikings. So maybe it was nerves. Maybe he just has to learn more. And he also did have to play a lot of run support. Yeah, I'm not saying you are. To be clear. I'm
get burned.
Making my argument for him.
Sure. And he did get burned bad a few times. But I'm not saying he's bad. He is a rookie. He is learning this game, and he did go against one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. As much as as a Bears fan, you just have to say it. Aaron Rodgers is a very good quarterback, and that's why we hate him because,
Jalen Johnson is a very good cornerback. No targets.
No, Jalen Johnson, man, if he doesn't make the Pro Bowl this year, if he plays like this the entire year,
he's played like an all-pro corner. It's crazy. And the fact
he's
that
not being talked about enough,
isn't getting brought up because he's not getting any targets. I mean, obviously, I think Bears fans know we're a smart football fan base. I'd like to think, but he hasn't gotten any interceptions, no deflected passes because no one's thrown his way. So they're just kind of. I mean, he did strip. Did he have a punch out, or did he pick up the punch out against the Niners? But I mean, I think people just aren't talking about him because he's just been, just an absolute shutdown corner.
Jalen Johnson punched it out. Brisker picked it up.
Yes.
So just want to put that. But again, great call out. And also I want to tip my hat to Eddie Jackson. He's been doing a very good job so far. He's actually tackling people.
Yeah. Learned how to tackle, baby.
He learned how to tackle. He even said today, so today is Wednesday, September 21st, when we're recording, 8:24 p.m. Central Time. Eddie Jackson today said that guys stayed an hour after and worked on tackling. They just continued to work. So it's good to see that this Bears team is taking things seriously. I think that's a strength overall as a team. Let's go into weaknesses real fast. Obviously a subject we have to call out. But let's start with the offensive side of the ball, play calling. I think play calling has been subpar this year, especially bringing in a guy like Luke Getsy. There's very high expectations of him. And I'll give him a little leeway because this is his second game as an offensive coordinator in the NFL. He is working with a quarterback that's learning an entirely new playbook. But at the same time, you don't get better without taking risk. And I feel like Luke Getsy was a little too conservative against the Green Bay Packers. The flea flicker, again, worked perfect. I mean, that play was awesome. We're like, oh my gosh, he's bringing out everything tonight. This is it. This is the pass of the torch. And then Luke Getsy was like, oh wait, I used to work for this team. Probably I should maybe not make them look bad. I'm totally kidding. Luke Getsy's a bear thick and through now.
Mm-hmm.
But
bear for life. Yep.
Bear for life.
Starting
recently. But yeah, I think the play calling was, subpar so far. And then that just leads to a domino effect of the receivers having no consistency with Justin Fields. And then on top of that, everything I'm just going through, the Bears are struggling. The offense is struggling to stay on the field. They were on the field 15 minutes less than the defense this past Sunday night, which is no bueno. Tony, I know you got a couple stats, but anything from there, any extra call outs you want to call out before you bring up some of your cool stats for the fans?
Week overall. So since you brought up play calling, which is obviously not like a specific player doing something, I guess just clean play was a weakness. Playing clean, we did not do that. And obviously, I know the refs were against us. And I talk about this more in my keys to the game, but it just kind of we didn't put ourselves in the best situations. And I believe, I guess I don't know this, but I believe that Matt Eberflus is kind of seems to be a guy that would preach put yourself in the right situation, play the right way, the fundamentals, and we did not execute those well in the last game. Obviously, game one still kind of a toss out because of just the extenuating, I think I nailed that word, circumstances. But the Bears, so this is bad. I was about to make that sound good. This is a bad stat. The Bears lead the league with the highest rate of 3-and-outs at 55%. That is brutal.
Horrible.
On offense,
That's
to
horrible.
be clear, not as a defense. That'd be awesome. But yeah, so that's just like you said, Nick. We gotta just, even if not every play has to be a touchdown, not every drive has to end in a touchdown, or even points. I would like it to, gotta be realistic. Just give the boys a break on defense. Give the boys on defense a break.
But and like it's not like this is a slow offense either. Like Matt, Eberflus and Getty are like, let's go. So like the guys are on the field for 2 minutes after the defense was just on the field for 8 to 10 minutes. They're gassed. And, you have commercial breaks and whatever, and these are athletes. Luckily, this team is very young, but still, these guys are tired. So it's very frustrating from that standpoint. Overall, I just want to call out before we go to the Texans, which we're not going to go super deep into. But I just want to bring up the fact that I'm starting to get worried about Velus Jones Jr. This is the third week in a row that he is missing practice due to that hamstring injury, which could be a lot more serious than the Bears are making it out to be. So I think that he would be a huge impact on this defense. I mean, Justin Fields has had multiple players where he's overthrown wide receivers because they're not fast enough to get to the overthrow, which technically it's also on him, playing devil's advocate. He should be a little bit more accurate. But at the same time, you have a guy like Velus Jones Jr. out there that could practically run after anything and catch it. Like if Darnell Mooney had one more step on that one deep throw during week one, the Bears would have had another touchdown. And Velus Jones Jr. would have had the speed for that. But I'm starting to get a little bit worried because he didn't have too many preseason reps. And he doesn't look like he's going to play this week again. So I'd rather the Bears just shut him down, not have him do anything and heal up. So we have him for the second half of the season. But, Tony, any comments on that before we go to Houston?
Yeah, I may have to change my fantasy team name from Velus Jones Jr. Stan to just, a player that plays. I haven't figured. I'm gonna have to workshop that one. Let me know in the comments if you got any good recommendations. But yeah, no, it's brutal. I want to see him out there. He's fast. Part that sucks is he's old. So the longer if he maybe
he's
just
old
not
for
this
a
year.
rookie. He's old
for a rookie. Yes, true. But he sits out the year and he's another year older.
It's another year older.
I'm a big believer. So I know not a lot of people are. I agree with you though that it's just getting to it's starting to pile up.
It's getting to that point. It's getting to that point where you're like,
it's getting weird. We just don't really have answers, and I think that might be part of it. And obviously, you don't want to share all your secrets. Like I get it, but it's just I don't know. It's weird.
As Bears fans, we have the right to know.
We deserve it.
So let's go. So let's move over to the strengths and weaknesses of the Houston Texans, a team that's frisky. I totally agree with that term, Tony. Strengths on offense, there's really not any. I in my opinion, I don't see how this offense is a threat. And knock on wood that they don't do something crazy this upcoming Sunday against Chicago. But Tony, I see you wrote a few things, but other than that, I just there's really the defense has a strength, and I already hit on that earlier. But anything on the offense, Tony, before we go to defensive strengths?
Yeah, I'll be quick. Dameon Pierce and Rex Burkhead are a frisky bunch in the backfield, and maybe this is just because I have them handcuffed on my bunch of my fantasy teams as well. I know no one cares, but I do believe in Dameon Pierce. I think we're catching him at the right time. The Texans, I think Dameon Pierce will be a bell cow later in the year. However, I also think if we catch him later in the year, they probably just give up as a franchise. So it's in a weird spot here. I do think Dameon Pierce will eventually start having good games. Hopefully. Not this week. That's really high level analysis there. You can
I'm listening to you because on my fantasy team, I just want everyone to hear this because I feel like this is relevant. My first 5-round picks, are you ready? Was Alvin Kamara, Justin Jefferson, Keenan Allen, Justin Herbert, and Elijah Mitchell. Elijah Mitchell's on the IR. Justin Herbert is hurt. Kamara's hurt. Justin Jefferson's healthy, and Allen's hurt. So my team is 0-2, hurting over here right now. So I might need a running back. So if you're saying that Burkhead is frisky, why not?
If he's out there, I mean, yeah, we can talk offline about that. Yeah, but
yeah, we'll talk about it offline.
Good
I don't want to bore
PPR,
everybody.
good running back in a PPR, full point PPR league. But
100%. Love the ball, dude. Nothing against ball people. So anyway, defensively, they have crazy linebackers. You know, Jonathan Owens is the leader in tacklers in the league right now with 25. Right behind him at number 3 is Kamu Gruder-Hill is third with 23 tackles. Those two alone are big problems for running backs. So the running back group cannot be too careful. They should be on their feet, but it also might open up the opportunity for Justin Fields to really rip it up upfield with the passing game, as long as it's not over the middle. So if you're a Cole Kmet fantasy owner, I would highly suggest not starting him this week. Highly suggest. And I am a Cole Kmet fantasy owner.
Me too.
I am not. Yes, I am keeping him out. And if Cole Kmet, I would love it if he watched this and then tweeted at us. To everyone that listened to Just Another Year, give him the bird, because if he has a huge game, which I'm hoping for. I hope that's the theory that happens, Cole. But that's really their strengths. And Tony, anything else? Because weaknesses is more of, Houston's just a big weak spot.
I think you nailed it. We can move to weaknesses.
All right. So offensively, they do not get any yards on offense. You thought the Bears were bad? Let's go talk about the Texans. They averaged 266.5 yards in total offense a game this year so far, 188 of those being passing, 78.5 being rushing. And then Tony, I mean, just this stat's wild to me with what you're about to tell fans, but the Lions are tied for.
Yeah, so the Texans are tied for second with the Lions in highest 3-and-out rate, which is 44%, which is still terrible that the Bears are at 55 and higher than both these teams. But the Houston also has had 25 possessions through their first 2 games. So that was the Falcons, who they tied, and the Broncos they lost to. They have had just 2. It's 8%. 8% of their possessions. 2 possessions have reached the red zone. Not saying scored or anything, reached the red zone, which is the lowest rate in the league.
So that's good for Bears fans, especially for those going on Sunday. I'm very thankful for that. So hopefully I'm actually going to a fun, enjoyable game at Soldier Field. But, another thing that it's they're testing themselves and they're not succeeding. Players are being constantly changed on this team. Besides Mills at quarterback, who does Houston seem to have on the field at all? Like consistently. I feel like every time I watch a highlight of the Houston Texans, there's a new name, there's someone new. They're rotating someone from the practice squad. It's wild to me.
I know Nico Collins isn't getting any run. Thought that was an absolute steal in the later rounds of my draft. Speaking of Davis Mills, though, real quick, another stat for you guys, stat heavy podcast. 24% of Davis Mills' pass attempts have resulted in a first down or touchdown, which is the lowest rate for all quarterbacks to play in full both weeks of the season. So shout out Justin Fields being higher than that. Pretty cool. Obviously, cool. I'm sure it's because he's thrown less passes, but numbers never lie.
Numbers never lie. We're an analytical show over here. We love our analytics. Let's go to the defensive side of the ball because they are bad. They gave up a ton of yards. So I think I'm going to start Darnell Mooney on my team this week because of how many yards this team gives up. Houston is 31st in average yards per game allowed. They allow 270.5 yards passing. So could be a good week for the Bears. Could be a good week for Justin Fields, especially someone who wants to redeem themselves. But on average, they give up 163 rushing yards per game. That's bad. We complain about the Bears. I would hate to be a Texans fan right now.
Just in general in life, yeah, I couldn't agree more. Houston, here's another, we're just dropping knowledge on you guys. Feel free to use this in your daily life. Houston has allowed just a 56.8% completion rate, which is 5th in the league. But they have allowed 7.1 yards per pass attempt, which is 16th in the league. So technically, I guess it's exactly average. I was going to say below average. But 12.4 yards per completion, which is 29th in the league, which, as we know, as Bears fans who are always in those rankings for stats, that is at the bottom of the league. The Texans are also 25th in pressure rate at 25.8%. So hopefully Justin Fields, won't get sacked as much. We can keep up. We can talk about the offensive line as a
good
strength
offensive line streak.
Yep.
Oh man, if they. I just want to throw this out there too. Excuse me, I totally burped. I just want to throw this out there. Is that I think the Bears, and please put your comments below. I think the Bears should shut down Lucas Patrick for 3 weeks and just let Tevin Jenkins play right guard. Stop this rotation. Let Lucas Patrick get his hand all healed up so he can play center because that's where he's obviously better at. Just want to throw that out there.
I'm fine with that. Either way, they got to stop rotating him, and maybe it's worked on a couple plays, and the announcers are quick to point out, like, oh my gosh, look at he comes in and he has this one great block on a run. It's just let the guys get a rhythm. That's the whole argument with not playing the guys in the preseason versus playing them. You want to get them in a rhythm. I don't think rotating them in and out, especially against like the Packers and that, whatever. We can go on a whole rant, but I agree with you. They should stop rotating. Pick someone.
Speaking of picking someone, the Houston Texans picked Lovie Smith to be their head coach. Chicago Bears former head coach is coming back to Chicago with an 89-88-1 record. He is 0-1-1 this season with the Houston Texans. That tie coming against Matt Eberflus' former squad in Indianapolis, which is arguably pretty impressive, not going to lie. Especially a team like the Texans who are frisky, as Tony would say. But welcome back, Coach. Always nice to see you. Lovie Smith led the Chicago Bears to 2 NFC Championship appearances, one being a win, one being a loss, unfortunately. Bears were in one Super Bowl, which they lost, the one that Devin Hester returned it all the way to a touchdown. But welcome back, Coach. Some great years. He out of Lovie Smith, so he's already had one Hall of Famer in Brian Urlacher during his time go to the Hall of Fame. And this past season, or yesterday, it was announced that there are 4 Hall of Fame candidates for the Chicago Bears this upcoming season. Olin Kreutz, Lance Briggs, Charles Tillman, and Devin Hester all played under Lovie Smith. So Lovie Smith had a lot of talent, and he did a lot of good things with it. Unfortunately, it did not work out for his time. I think the Bears should have never gotten rid of him after that 10-6 season to go to Mark Trestman. But welcome back, Coach. Wanted to just give that a quick shout out. But Tony, let's go into the injury report really fast. We appreciate you guys sticking around this long. We know this is a longer episode, but we want to make sure we get you guys all the facts and let us know how you think about the StreamYard. We love StreamYard. We're using it right now. We are not sponsored by them. I am just saying that out of pure love. So the Bears wide receiver and kick returner Eberflus Jones Jr. is questionable or doubtful with a hamstring injury. Quarterback Dame Cruikshank is questionable also with a hamstring injury that he suffered against the Green Bay Packers. For the Texans, center Justin Britt was placed on the non-football illness list for a personal matter. He is likely out this upcoming Sunday. And linebacker Kevin Pierre-Louis was placed on IR with a groin injury. I'm just going to say it one more time. We need Eberflus Jones Jr. back. Tony, any more comments before we go into 3 keys of the game?
Yeah, he feels we obviously haven't seen him, on the field in regular season action, but he's electric, I think. And or he was in college at least. And I'm excited. I want him to come back. Please come back.
Please come back. We love you. We miss you. So let's go into 3 keys of the game for you guys. God, I love these like little buttons where like I feel like a DJ where I like ping things up and I'm like, bam, 3 keys of the game. All right, so let's get out there. I'm going to start with my 3 keys of the game. Number 1, keep the defense off the field. Houston has a weak offense, but even weaker defense. If the Bears are on the field scoring against the team, obviously scoring points helps you win games. There's not much more to say to that. Number 2 is let Justin Fields throw deep all day. Against a super weak Houston secondary, you need to let him get reps in doing this in-game play. The season is not going to get any easier for the Chicago Bears. And I think that, this is a huge opportunity for Justin Fields in order to start gaining that confidence and understanding how to manage that. And then finally, you get to go to the defensive side of the ball real fast. The front 7 on defense has to do something to stop this, the run game. Again, Houston has a 78.5 yard average so far throughout the season. There is no excuse that the Bears should give up any more than that. So just want to put that up. But again, they're frisky, so don't be too comfortable. But I think that the Bears absolutely should win this game against the run game, at least. I think the Bears should win this game as a whole, but definitely in this area. If it works out, then our tough secondary will be used more because the Texans will be forced to pass, and hopefully we'll get some more interceptions. So, Tony, if you don't have any comments, let's hear your 3 thoughts 3 keys to the game.
Yep. Key 1, feed Monty and Herbie. That's my
fully loaded.
Totally creative nickname I made up for him. they're so good. It'll help Fields. I think we all kind of get the point on that one. Key number 2, agreeing with you on the fact that we just got to get first downs. We've talked about it the whole podcast now. We got to put some drives together. Like we said, just can't keep going 3 and out. The fact that we are by far the worst or the highest rate of going 3 and out is embarrassing and brutal. Key number 3, final key, play smarter. I know it was a ref show last Sunday, but like I said before, we can't leave it in the hands of the officials. They're human. It is what it is. We've all seen bad officiating, good officiating. Don't leave it in their hands. No stupid penalties. Leave no doubt. Stomp them out.
Love it. I love it. Stop them out. Score predictions coming up right here. So score predictions for today's game Sunday's game against the Houston Texans. I'm going Bears winning this one 24-14. We need this win. Green Bay is taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which could be an L for them. And Minnesota and Detroit are playing against each other. I'm rooting for Detroit. I know it's divisional, but I want Detroit to win that game. So I got the Bears entering 2-1 after this game. Bears going to win 24-14. I hope they score more than that, but just keeping it low, baby. I'd rather predict low and score high. That's what I got to say. Tony, what are you thinking for this game?
I have the Bears winning 27-18. Vegas actually has an implied score of 21.5-19 because the Bears are 2.5 point home favorites. Whatever, add those up and that you'll get the over under. Justin Fields, I think, will go bonkers. I think this will be just a great game for him because he's due to bounce back with his work ethic, his character, just who he is as a person and as a football player, as an athlete. But I do think the Texans will run the ball well on us. I am worried about that. Our run defensive woes will persist, I believe, unfortunately, but we still pull out the win.
I hope so. I hope you're right because Bears are coming out on top 2-1. We're both saying that right now. Again, if you're at the game, please find me and also make sure that you go to the link in the description for our Bears versus Vikings viewing event at Murphy's Bleachers. Free beer while supply lasts, free t-shirts, prizes, and more. So make sure you stay tuned for that. But with that, thank you very much for joining this episode of Just Another Year Chicago. My name is Nick Rohde, joining alongside my good friend and co-host, confident Tony Cepeda, and we will see you guys next time.